All right, Natalie Newhart, welcome to the Not So Stupid podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to have you on and
I'm
talk about
excited.
your story because, man, what you shared was already awesome, and I can't wait to dive deeper on it altogether.
Yeah, I'm always excited to share it. It's a big story and we can spend as little or as long in each section and yeah, just kind of give hopefully give the listeners some new perspectives and some tools to walk away with.
Yeah, no, that's always the goal for sure. So why don't you get us started? What is the story of Natalie right now, and how'd you end up to where you are right now?
Oh boy. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll just make it pretty quick and we can dive into any part that you want. But basically, I started off as a CrossFit athlete. I went, I had my dreams on going pro, going to the CrossFit Games, and uh, and that's basically what I did. So, I dropped my dropped my whole entire life to train full time. Opened up my own gym. Ended up making it to the CrossFit Games in 2016, and then after that, like I wanted to go back, got injured, um, trained a lot, and no matter what, like that was kind of the time where it was really kind of taken off.
Hmm.
And I'm a pretty small, I'm probably one of the smaller athletes in the field. Like I'm only 5 feet tall,
Hmm.
120 pounds. So I was having to work really hard to try to stay with the big girls and lift the heavy weights.
Hmm.
And basically, like I was willing to do whatever it took, right? Like it was just my dream. I ate it, breathed it, slept it. Like it was just CrossFit, CrossFit, CrossFit. It was my life.
Hmm.
And I was okay with that. It was exactly what I wanted. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get there to the top. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to be like, top 10. Um, anyways, but no matter what I did, nothing worked, right? Like, no matter how hard I worked out, how hard I trained, I hired, I did everything. I hired different coaches. I worked with Olympic weightlifting coaches. I dropped my entire life and moved in with Louis Simmons at Westside Barbell.
Oh wow.
Like I was just because I needed to learn how to get stronger. I hired a mindset coach, a psychologist, because no matter what I did, I just wasn't like hitting the mark of where I needed to be to compete with
Hmm.
those girls. And eventually, like there just came a point where I was like, look, I can't work any harder. And it was at that point, I had a coach that actually who had my best interest in mind, and he was like, look, I think this is what's happening is you're just not recovering, and so you're not able to get stronger. And that coach, who I totally trusted, and I still trust to this day, but um, he recommended that I do PEDs, and at that point, I didn't even know where it was. Like I didn't even
Hmm.
know. Like I'd heard of it, but I didn't even know what it stood for. I knew it was
Hmm.
bad or whatever. And I was open minded because I was just at a point in my life where that was all I wanted. This was my life. And it was like, I had just given so much to want to be there at the top. And and I was willing to kind of do whatever it took. And I also didn't really know the repercussions of that. I didn't know anything about it. Um, and it was either going to be like throwing in the towel and just quit on my dreams or
Hmm.
take this drug and, see where it got me. And and prior to that, just so you know, like I was like anti any of that. Like I was
Hmm.
like, man, if you don't work hard for your if you don't if you're like you're a cheater, like
Right.
that's not
Like you're
cool.
taking a shortcut. That's not really you
Yeah.
winning. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm hardcore, man. I'll work circles around you, like.
Hmm.
And but then I was like, shit, the running circles around people, that's not working. Like
Right.
no matter how hard I work. And so I was like, well, I gotta do something. I'm either done, like I'm either cutting, I'm done with competing because I'm not getting anywhere, no
Right.
matter how hard I work, or I try this new thing. And I was like, all right, let's do it, um, and it worked. Like it worked. I couldn't believe it. It worked pretty well, and shit got pretty fun, to tell you the truth. You
Hmm.
know, I wasn't training any harder at all. Like there was nothing else that I did, and my weight started to move. I started to like my dream started to come true, right?
Mhm.
Basically, like I was getting sponsorships after sponsorship. I was winning, I was winning money, and I was getting offers to like go travel the world and work out with different people, and it was
Mhm.
like it was fun, man. And I was like, yeah, this is, this is it. Like this is what I've been working for.
Mhm.
And then that year, when the competition came back, like, the season came in, I the first week of the competition season, I got a call from a drug, testing agency,
Mm.
and they had like, anyways, so they wanted to test me, and it was like I freaked out because at that point I was still on it,
Mhm.
and because my coach didn't teach me how to cycle off of it. He didn't even talk about that. So
Mm.
it was, yeah. So anyways, I tested positive, and then that was a really pivotal part of my life, because basically I went from what I considered the highest of the high to the lowest of the low,
Mhm.
right? I was just they posted it on they posted it online. They did a show about it. Like I was kind of like the mockery of CrossFit,
Mhm.
and it was extremely embarrassing, and they and and I didn't say like, oh, this isn't true. Like I didn't try to hide it.
Deny
I
it.
was
Yeah.
like, you know what, man, if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna at least go down like, with some respect. Like that's all. That's like I'm gonna save my as much of my reputation as I can. And I went online, posted an Instagram, was like, look, guys, it's true. Like I totally did it. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, and I just owned it.
Mhm.
And that was just really interesting time because I felt like trash, like I felt like white trash, like. And anyway, so what happened is I was banned from CrossFit for a couple of years, and I was like, well, shit, what do I do now? Like
Mhm.
as an athlete, like when you've consumed something it's your entire life, you don't know what to do. It's really scary. And
Right.
I was like, well, I'll just, and I was at like the peak of my athletic career. So I was like, what do I do with this? And so I took up bodybuilding. I was like, well, bodybuilding's kind of like the closest thing to it. They like lift weights, and I was like, it'd be kind of cool to like look good. Like, sure, I followed Dana
Mhm.
Lynn Bailey, and I was like, yeah, I want to look like her, and I know how to lift weights and do cardio, so let's do it.
Mhm.
Um, and that was really interesting. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Definitely a very interesting sport.
Completely different than CrossFit. Way
So
different world.
different and kind of weird. And yeah. So anyways, did that, and I got myself into I basically what I did there is I took a bodybuilding diet, and I
Uh-huh.
paired it up with a CrossFit Games
Like
training
workout.
protocol.
Man.
Like 5-6 hours a day of CrossFit. Because that's what I knew. I was like, this shit works.
Yeah.
Just dial in my nutrition. Yeah. Yeah, it worked. And then it did until it didn't. Like
Mhm.
post show, extremely my coach, once again, like I had this coach that just he didn't set me up with how to come off of, out of the diet,
Right.
out of the show. Which I crushed, by the way. I won it, but like I probably binged for about 3 months,
Right.
created some really bad eating disorders, started to so what was interesting, you might think this is kind of interesting. So basically, because of the whole thing with CrossFit, I saw myself as trash. Like I
Mm.
literally, I had this image. I was so embarrassed and just, yeah, like that. I saw myself as like the trash in the gutter that people would just kick around.
Mhm.
And then I also was in such a depleted state, nutritionally, like I just, because of the bodybuilding diet. And
Right.
so what happened is, my, neurons that fire together wire together. Okay.
Mhm.
So I the trash and the food got wired together, and I started to eat out of trash cans, like, all the time, dude. Like, fucking, I was living on a school campus and going through it, like, I would eat trash out of, or I mean, food out of the trash cans.
Mhm.
One, because I got this high, this really big hit, right, from the food, because it was something like, that's what I trained, right? I
Mhm.
linked like that high because I was so depleted. And then I also just, I saw myself as trash, and that's kind of like just where I went. It was
Mhm.
really interesting. And so that lasted for years anyways. But and I also just it was just bad, man. Like, just my relationship with food was obsessive, and I started to, like, I just couldn't control myself, and that happened for years. And
Mhm.
I would try to work it off, and with more workouts, I found myself at the gym 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a day if it got bad. And there was even times, like, on my way home from work, I would stop by the grocery store. Like, there was one point, I think I stopped by 5 grocery stores on the way home, because I developed this thing where, I got, like, a hit off of, you know, I was stealing food from the grocery stores. Like, I would go in, and I'd go to the trail mix aisle, right?
Mhm.
And I would, because I just, like, I got that hit, that high, that rush off food. And, and there was one point where I stopped by like 5 grocery stores. So it was out of control, man. And I didn't know who I was. Like, I lost myself. Like, who I was
Mhm.
supposed to be, like, this disciplined person, hard worker, and I couldn't even, like, stay at home, feel like I could trust myself at home because of the relationship I developed with food. So,
Mhm.
anyways, so that led to me trying to work off, right? And I just stressed my body out so much, and I ended up gaining weight, like 20 pounds in 2 months. Like, there was a point where my body just
Wow.
crashed, everything stopped.
Mhm.
I became hypothyroid, adrenal fatigue, stress induced menopause, like, just really rapid weight gain, puffy, swollen, everything. And
Mhm.
that's when I realized that, oh shit, like, this is, and I wasn't even actually, at that point, I wasn't even eating that much. I got fat from too much stress, not from too
Mhm.
much food. So, and that's when I started to take I started to work with doctors, physicians. They took me under their wing, taught me everything they knew about female hormones, and how women are so stress sensitive. And that's the root of their issue, especially aging women. Like, they could be working out all day long, eating perfectly clean, and they don't see results because it's stress,
Mm.
not food or workout related. So
Wow.
that's basically kind of how I got to where I am.
Man, that's a really dense summary of the last 5 years. There's a lot in there that
Yeah,
you went through. You
yeah,
know, each individual thing, like you said, could go on pretty long tangents, but I would love to kinda go through it chronologically, if you're cool with that,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and, start with, going back to wanting to be the best, and you did everything in your power to be the best. You hired, like you said, not just people that are helping you physically, like with your form, with your technique, with your training, but you also had people that were helping you mentally with
yeah,
the mindset coaching and the psychologists, um, until you pretty much hit your ceiling, right, of what you were able to accomplish.
yeah.
Were you know, as you went through, you had the PEDs, you were taking them. I don't know how they work, to be honest. So I don't know if you take them regularly, if you took them for a period of time, and
Mhm.
then you were at the top. Did you still have these mindset coaches and psychologists on your side, kind of helping you out with that and talking you through things? Like, what was going through your head, and what kind of experiences were you feeling? Um, Knowing that this isn't something I should be doing, like you said, it's not a good thing, but you were still doing it anyway, and you felt like you were getting away with it in a way. Like, what was that like?
Yeah. That's a good question. So, what was going through my head when I was doing that? Um, let's see. I think what I did is I generated a story to make myself feel better, so that I didn't go to so I could sleep at night. With knowing
Mm,
that is, oh, everybody's doing it,
mm,
right? And because I mean, like, I wasn't sure how people were getting friggin' stronger. Like, there's a
yeah.
point where it's like, come on, man, like, Like, how do you get, like I don't know, like how are you still setting PRs,
Right,
Um,
right.
and so that's, and of course everybody talks about it, and I almost probably feel like, yeah, but you don't know, right? But I
Right.
definitely painted that story in my mind. I think probably looking back at it now, so that I could have a peace of mind, right?
Mhm.
Um,
It
and
created, like, comfort knowing that other people were doing it too. It wasn't
yeah,
just like,
like, hey,
I'm the weird one out.
this is part of the game,
Yeah.
and also, like, and I believed, the people that said, oh, this girl's doing it, and I would hear stories, and so
Right.
I would definitely believe in that, and I was like, oh yeah, like, so that made me feel more like, oh, I'm just, I'm on a level playing field now, you
Mhm.
know um so that's probably what was going through my mind more than or like that's what made me feel okay about it.
Mhm.
um yeah.
So going through with it though, like, could so if you wanna explain how it works, because 'cause I'm completely clueless on how
Yeah.
this works. Like, is it just you continuously take X amount dosage on a weekly, monthly basis for a period of time, to stay on it? Or, like, how does that work exactly?
Yeah, so I didn't know how it worked either, but I mean, like, so basically what I took was Anavar.
Uh-huh.
It's like supposed to be one of I don't know, the safest stuff for women, but it was just a pill. It was like
Mhm.
just this little tiny pill, and you just took it every single day.
Oh,
And that was it. Like, I don't think I like loaded up or weaned off. Like, no, I don't think I did. Oh, no,
no.
I don't think so. I think I
See,
just started it and
yeah.
just took it every day. That was it.
So it became part of your routine, and because you took it so often and so frequently, you didn't think of it as a big deal anymore because it was just, like, what you did that day, like
Yeah.
taking a
I mean,
multivitamin kinda thing.
oh, yeah, totally. No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the thing is, don't forget, man, I was having fun, right?
Yeah.
So, like, shit was lining up. It was like my dream come true.
Mhm.
So it was kind of like, I felt like finally, like, this is what I wanted. But the thing is, it's not what I wanted, it turns out,
Mhm.
because, like, yeah, so, like, why was that so important? Why was it so important for me to be at the top? Why was it so important for me to win? And now I know that I got lost, and that I got, lost in that mirage that you think you're gonna be happy, that it's gonna make all the difference if you win.
Mhm.
It doesn't create happiness. That's what I now know. But I thought that, oh, once I win, right? Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna have, sponsorships, and my life's gonna be perfect, and I'm gonna wake up happy, and every day's gonna be awesome. No, shit don't work
Yeah,
like that. But I thought it did. Yeah.
man. So you wanted to win just to be not just to be the best, but just to, like, feel successful and achieve that thing, and you did it by any means necessary, as you said, and it got you what you thought you wanted for a little bit, but looking back at it, it wasn't nearly that. Do you feel like after going through that high and coming back down to that really low low, that, um going into another competitive thing was, like, where you were searching for happiness? Like, you just needed to win
Yeah.
something again? Is that what it was?
Absolutely. Now I had this void, right? I was
Mhm,
like, yeah, I mean, well, I mean, I always felt like I always had to earn it, right? Like,
mhm,
that's what I thought. I was like, well, I'm not I'm not enough. Like, it's never enough, right?
mhm,
That feeling. And I had to win, and and like that's how we're brought up. Like, at least that's how I was brought up. Like, as my dad,
mhm,
when I won stuff, he was proud. Like, oh,
mhm,
I'm so proud of you, proud of my baby girl. And I was like, yeah, like that makes dad proud. It makes me closer to him, right?
mhm,
Makes me feel loved.
mhm,
And that's the thing, is I think that, that's what I was really searching for, but I didn't know was love. Like, I wanted to just wake up and feel a sense of love for life, love for myself, love for others. And I was trying to search through that, find that through all these competitions and doing things and working out harder, but it was never enough.
mhm,
Right? It was always like, what's the next thing? Oh, I never did enough. Like, and but yeah, so then I had that really big void, after being just kind of ridiculed in front of the entire world, that, oh man, I'm I'm definitely not enough. I've got to,
Hmm.
like, I've got to fill this void. And that's when I sought out bodybuilding, and I won that show, man, like so easily. And I was the most sad and depressed and miserable girl there. Like, there was nothing in me. I was so empty. And it was interesting because it's like, when I won that show, you just, like, you just work so hard, and you would think like there'd be something there, and I was completely empty. I didn't even have any friends there I was there by myself, like.
Hmm.
And it just, at that point I realized that winning didn't mean the same thing for me, you know.
Hmm.
So, um in fact, it made me feel more abandoned, basically.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
you turned to this thing that you thought would fill this void,
Yeah.
and it just made things worse and set you back even more.
Yeah, because winning, it didn't mean the same, because of what happened with CrossFit. Like, it like, rejection, you
Hmm.
know. I felt I that and after at one that again, neurons that wire together, or fire together, wire together. So, like, with CrossFit, like with that winning, and what happened is I became, I was abandoned. I was rejected from the community.
Hmm.
And so I didn't feel, I didn't get that same superhuman invincible feeling that you typically get when you win.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize that then, but that's what became evident. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, what was that day or week like after winning the bodybuilding competition?
Fucking miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable. So, like, after I won the show, you know, the big thing was, oh, what are you gonna eat? Oh, what am I gonna eat on the way home? Yeah, like, and I had this plan for a month.
Hmm.
I had Red Robin, like, sweet potato fries and all the trail mix, because I love trail mix, sweet and
Yeah.
salty. And I think I had, like, I don't know, I think a 3 or 4 hour drive home. I ate for the entire drive home, constant, like
Hmm.
hand in mouth all the time. Then I got home and I went to the kitchen. Of course, there's no food in there because it was from the bodybuilding prep, but
Right.
there was chicken and rice, right? Because that was what I was eating. And I
Hmm.
ate that. And then I went to the peanut butter. There was some peanut butter in there, in the cupboard. And I ate that. Like, that night, I literally could not stop eating. I
Hmm.
felt like, I wasn't even in my own body. I couldn't, there was so much food in my stomach. It was going all the way up in my throat, and I could feel that it was just maxed out. I couldn't even, like,
Hmm.
bend over, and yet I was still putting food in my mouth, man. I haven't thought about this in a long time, so it's pretty crazy.
Hmm.
But I just wanted to go to bed. I just wanted to stop. And even I don't know how I did, but I passed out at some point. And it was just all that week, man. It was just out of, I mean, it wasn't just that week. It was months of
Right.
out of control with food.
Hmm. And the only way you kind of escape that is just by going to sleep, is what it sounds like. That was the only way you got away from it.
Yeah. Like, well, yeah, because I tried everything. Like, I knew, I finally figured out, okay, I can't be at the house. So I tried to lock myself out of the house.
Hmm.
But then I found myself at the grocery store. And so I was like, okay, well, I can't bring my wallet then, right? Like, I'm not going to, because I would just go buy things from the grocery store.
Right.
And so then I'd leave my wallet, lock myself out of the house. And then that's when I started to steal from the grocery stores, because I was still find myself around food.
Hmm.
Right. And so I was like, well, I'm just in. And I thought it was like, oh, if I just I'd be that person. What I mean by steal is I would go to the aisles and open up the bag. I'd be that person that took the stuff and then put it back. Right.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was
You had
me.
like pieces of food from the bag, put the bag back, had your food, and put
Exactly.
it back. Yeah.
Because then I could actually get the taste that I wanted. without having to buy the whole bag and eating the whole thing. Right.
Hmm.
So that was like, oh, man.
You were able to rationalize it for yourself at that time, but like
Yeah.
looking at it from a clearer head, it's like that doesn't make as much sense as I thought it would.
Well, yeah. I mean, it became a pattern. It became an
Hmm.
addiction, literally. And then also the whole trash can thing was going on, right? Like, so I'd be taking food out of the trash can from my, friends' houses, gyms. Like, it was just, and it's embarrassing, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if, I wasn't like, oh, like, is somebody gonna see me? Like, it's fucking always, just always on my mind. Like, I was just unfucking believable.
Yeah.
Just not a great way to live.
Is this something you shared with anyone, or were you really like on your own at this point and just kind of trying to go through life day to day?
Um, I did share it with my boyfriend. I've always been really, I don't like keeping things in because it like brews there, like,
Hmm.
like your own skeletons and shit. And so I actually told my boyfriend like what was going on, and he didn't judge me at all, which was so great.
Hmm.
It didn't help me, like it didn't make anything better, but I at least told him,
It
hey,
didn't
I've got
make it worse.
this is what's going on. And he didn't know maybe to the extent of it. Like, I didn't tell him like, oh, I was going through the school trash can,
Hmm.
but he knew like what I was doing and how I had an issue. And like, here I was like a grown ass woman, like, almost 30 years old. And I couldn't even stay home alone. Like, I didn't want
Hmm.
to like leave the house. It's just crazy. So I had to like talk to him about that, but, um, that was the only person that knew. That was the only
Hmm.
person that knew. Yeah.
And then, so you, like you said, you created this pattern and it became more habitual for you to do this. It was like a constant experience for months. What was the pattern disruption that kind of started turning you around, or telling
Yeah.
yourself like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this is ridiculous.
It took a long fucking time, that's for sure.
Hmm.
Um, like years.
Hmm.
So I tried everything to get myself under control with food. And I was a nutrition coach,
Right.
mind you. Okay. Yeah. I knew what to do, right? Most
Right.
people out there, they know what to do. It's getting yourself to do it. How do we stop the pattern? How do
Hmm.
we break the pattern? That's the key. And so, um, nothing worked. I tried everything. I tried diets, macros, intermittent fasting. I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna not eat. I'm gonna not eat until 12 o'clock, right?
Hmm.
We all think like this is gonna solve the problem. Yeah, well, what that caused, it was the worst thing ever for me, is because as soon as you start to focus on not eating, well, you're focused on eating. Like you put that, it's now like, your mind
Right.
obsesses over the food. So that was the worst thing for me. Um, but I did it all. I did coaches, nothing worked.
Hmm.
The only thing that finally started to work was when I started to train my emotions.
Hmm.
That's when I started to get into that stuff. Like, or that it did when I started to train my mind and train my emotions, when I went inward
Hmm.
rather than looking at all the shit outside of me,
Hmm.
right? All the diets, all the workouts, all that stuff. When I went inside and I started to retrain the pattern and the thing that was driving me to eat, that's when everything shifted. But it took a long time before I got there. And it's also the thing that allowed me to learn how to create more balance with the gym and not stress,
Hmm.
right? So that was the turning point for sure.
The, the turning point was recognizing it had to be something internally because
E-
nothing externally was working.
exactly.
And what was the first thing you did to try and break that pattern, though? Like, there has to be something to create that other momentum. What was that first step for you?
Oh, so like in within going internally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, first step, knowing what I wanted. Boom. That's what I needed to do,
Hmm.
right? So here I was like focused on like the one thing I wanted, dude. I dreamed of just knowing peace with food.
Hmm.
So I just like, oh my God, that's like the one thing I want. I just want to know peace with food and I want freedom from the gym, because right now I was a slave, man. I was a
Mm-hmm.
slave to the gym. I used it only to work off the calories. I was miserable, and I didn't have an out. And
Mm-hmm.
so this is what I wanted, but my actions were not aligned with that because I was
Mm-hmm.
obsessing over food. My mind was thinking about it constantly, and I was tracking food, like it didn't align with what I wanted. And so I had to paint the picture of what would that look like? What
Mm-hmm.
would it look like to know peace with food? Okay. So there's a certain way of being that I realized. I started to study people. I started to study people who had peace with food. And what I mean by that is just not they didn't make food a big deal. They didn't obsess about it. They didn't worry about it. They didn't track their
Mm-hmm.
food. You know, my boyfriend is one of those people that dude can have fucking cookies or M&Ms sitting on the table for a week and not even
Right.
touch it. And I'm like, I want that. I
Yeah.
want that because it's like the way that I was living is I'd see that fucking cookie from a mile away. I'd
Uh-huh.
spot that bad boy, right? I'd smell it
Mm-hmm.
and I would obsess over it, especially if it was sitting right in front of me. It'd be the only thing I could think about.
Right.
And so I started to study people. I was like, what do these people do? What makes them how is it that he can just let that sit there and not control him, not have the urge, the pull? And I started to just watch people, and I noticed that those people, they behaved in a certain way, they
Mm-hmm.
thought in a certain way, they they thought about food in a particular way, they they acted, they ate in a certain way, right? Like they left food on their plate, they didn't think about food. They focused on, you know, um, all the things that they're doing that day and how excited they are.
Mm-hmm.
They ate when they were hungry. They stopped when they were full. They didn't push it too much. They knew that the food was going to be there later. They
Mm-hmm.
allowed themselves to have little treats every now and then. It didn't make a big deal about it. Like it just wasn't a big deal. And I was like, okay, like this is something that I need to train. I need to train myself to be a person that has this intuitive, balanced, relationship with food.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to train myself. I realized, okay, well, I realized that I needed to also train, um, I needed to train that way of being that. And
Mm-hmm.
I also need to train just knowing peace. Like I was very anxious and overwhelmed, which was driving me to stress eat. And so if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to change my behavior, those stress eating patterns, I had to become more peaceful. I had to become more calm, more relaxed. And so I started to study peaceful people, started
Mm-hmm.
to meditate, I started to breathe, I started to walk slower. I literally trained my entire way of being to align with the outcome that I wanted.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So you created clarity on what it was that you actually were looking for, actually wanted, not what you thought you
Yes.
wanted, like prior versions of yourself,
Yes.
and set the ground that created the direction for you. And then you just followed the path that others laid out for you that were doing what you wanted to do.
Yes. And what the thing is that it was my way of being that I had to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I did. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the meal I ate, the food I ate or didn't eat. It's not the diet. It's not the workout I did. It's
Mm-hmm.
not what time I ate at.
Yeah.
It was the way I felt inside, the way I felt and thought.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really powerful because I feel like more people, or I should say, too many people try to focus on the strategy and the
Hmm.
execution and what they're trying to do, but they don't work on maybe changing how they talk to themselves or the identity that they're looking to accomplish.
Yeah.
They're trying to be still have like the overweight person mentality or like the not
Dieter.
healthy person. Yeah, like they have that mindset, but they're trying to do the things of uh,
Right.
being healthy for the goal of being thinner, but they're not changing who they are internally at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I
And
think that'll reflect both ways. Sorry, go ahead.
no, yeah, exactly. And so, like, it started with a vision. It started with a fantasy that I didn't even know if that was possible. But
Hmm.
my vision was, hey, you know what? I want to be fit because that's important to me.
Mhm.
And I also want to know, I want to just know freedom. I want to
Mhm.
not feel like I'm attached to a plan, a workout plan or a diet plan. I wanted freedom. So
Mhm.
I knew I wanted, those were the two things I wanted. And I was like, okay, well, in order to be fit and also have that freedom, what are the qualities that I need to embody?
Mhm.
Right? What kind of person do I need to be, must I become to create that? And I realized,
Mhm.
okay, well, if I'm going to, be fit, I've got to have a love for movement, right? A
Mhm.
love for moving the body, a passion where I'm excited to move the body consistently, but I'm also not, so like it's real raw love,
Mhm.
not an obligation of what I have to do, or I've got to follow this plan, like an
Mhm.
burden or anything like that. I
Yeah,
can't see
you
it like
you love it for what it is, not for what it can give you.
yeah,
Basically, yeah.
exactly. And so I was like, okay, well, love has got to be something that, I've got to be that, or I got to train that
Mhm.
way of relating to the gym and movement, right? Because right then it was something I had to do. And then
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well, I also got to know peace with food, right? Because I got to move a lot, but I also need peace with food. So I'm not like, I'm not obsessing over food.
Mhm.
And so I started to paint that picture of I knew I had to train peace. And
Mhm.
so I just combined those two together, and now it's just I train it every day. I train it hard.
Mhm. So now, in relation to you discovering this path that you want to go on, and then the health stuff that you were going through, you mentioned you were going through adrenal fatigue, you had hypothyroidism, you had stress-induced menopause, like you had a lot going on with your body. Did those things overlap at the same time? Did that happen way after, way before? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I did kind of skip some stuff, but basically, so the bodybuilding competition happened. I binged
Yeah.
for a while. I actually ended up doing another show, like tried to do another show. My
Oh,
body
okay.
wouldn't respond the same.
Mhm.
And so then I was like, well, screw it. I'm just going to go back into CrossFit. Right. And it's when I went back into CrossFit and I was like, that's when I was actually going to go start to compete again. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was still like having really, weird food disorders.
Yeah.
Um, and, and so, but I was eating, I wasn't eating too much, right? But I was starting to CrossFit again and
Mhm.
ramping up training to compete again, basically. Okay.
Right.
That's when the hypothyroid, adrenal fatigue, everything's piled on
Mhm.
all at once. Um, it was in the peak of my like training season. It was like when we were, during the
Oh,
CrossFit,
wow.
and
Yeah.
20 pounds in 2 months came on like that. I was like, what the hell? How is it that I'm getting fat when I'm eating exactly according to the meal plan, chicken, rice, like macros tracked, everything. I was doing it
Mhm.
perfectly and I was gaining weight fast. And
Mhm.
that's when I learned that. So that it was stress, that you could gain
Okay.
weight off stress. So,
And you had already decided that you were gonna be more peaceful with food at that point, or like you had already done
oh,
that part?
no, that wasn't there. No.
That wasn't there. It came
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
the diagnosis?
Yeah, once I started to realize, oh shit, like I got to make some major changes, that's when I changed my mentality.
Mm,
So the hypothyroid and stuff that happened first,
right.
and what happened is I'll just kind of so this is what happened, because of
Mhm.
course you're not going to get it the first time, but basically like my coach was like, yeah man, you got to get out of the gym, you're too stressed out.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, well, that was really hard for me. But I started to walk and take baths and shit like that. Like I started to do all the things that they tell you to do. Oh,
Right.
it's like go on vacation, take a walk and take some naps, sleep in, stuff like that. I was like, okay, cool. So I
Mhm.
did that and it worked for a little bit. But eventually what happened is I just brought my very driven, hardcore mentality to work. Right.
Mm,
So that mentality, the pattern that I had inside me of wanting to perform and be the best and do more.
mhm.
I brought that to my job, my work and in my business. And I
Mhm.
just started to work, work, work. And I gained weight again.
Mhm.
So not from food, but just that mentality. Like my eyes would start shutting down, like closing early afternoon. And so I realized that, well, this stress thing isn't working again, like going for walks and shit isn't working.
Mhm.
So I realized I had to change my internal way of being, my pattern. I was carrying this pattern to everything I did. I carried it around. And so that's when I started to do the mental training and emotional training. Yeah,
Because you can do, I like that you brought it up like that, because you can do all these things that people tell you to do that are supposed to be working. But if you do them while still in a stress state, it doesn't change anything. Like it doesn't,
exactly.
you're still just taking that stress to these other places. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, you're just going for your work. You're on your walk and you're just one thinking about all the shit you need to do as soon as you get back. It's like that's not doing anything for you then.
hmm
Yeah.
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 You just change the background, but it's still like same things happening
Yeah.
in front of you. Yeah. Like
Yep.
going on vacation while stressed out, you're still stressed, just in a different place. You're not helping
Exactly.
yourself. hmm
Exactly. Because the mind, yeah, the mind's always thinking. And so if you don't retrain the way the mind thinks, then you're bringing that stress everywhere you go. And
hmm
that's what people don't realize is that the emotional stress is, I would say, is just as detrimental as the physical stress, if not more, because it's constant.
hmm
Most women or most people or many people are living in this state of go, 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 and women are the most sensitive to it.
hmm
And that emotion is causing like the emotion of anxiety and overwhelm and needing to perform and I'm not doing enough. It's a chemical reaction in the brain that's turning on trillions of cells in the body in your
hmm
physiology that are producing stress hormones, turning on peptides, neuropeptides, like all sorts of things that are causing stress, which is going to prevent the diet and exercise from working, and this
hmm
is why you see so many women, they struggle the most. The women over 35, they don't know they're doing it all right. And that's why,
hmm
just their way of thinking is causing all this stress.
hmm No, that's actually a great point, because I think most people really, they don't consider it as a factor. When it comes to their physique or how they're feeling or their well-being, they think about the food that they're eating, they think about how much they move, and like that's it. It's a two-part equation, but
Yeah.
there's like a lot of underlying things to that. Can you go in more detail about how stress, like the chain effect of stress on how it ultimately leads to you not losing the weight you want or getting the goal
Yeah.
that you want?
The it is funny, dude, because we can talk about this shit all day long, and the women will still, or like people will still go to the diet and the exercise. They're like,
For
yeah,
sure.
like it's so funny. But yeah, I mean, the way that I like to kind of think about it, or an easy way to think about it, which I think we can all relate, is kind of like a Wi-Fi signal. Like our brain is the Wi-Fi signal, or I mean,
hmm
yeah, our brain is the router. Okay, and what happens is, like, if we had like 100 people, at my house, and we all got on the internet, like there's only so much capacity there. And so all of a sudden, if we're all trying to get on the Wi-Fi, like our
hmm
windows are going to stop loading. We can't check Instagram. We can't check our email. Everything starts freezing up,
hmm
and that's basically what starts happening with the body, right?
hmm
So the thing is that the brain, what people don't realize, the brain is the center of the metabolism, and we are putting all these demands on it. You know, and the, just all like the to-do list, the need to go, 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 the, just all the gym, and also then, your emotional stress, like the way that you're thinking is causing a lot of like static or, just demand on the body. It's creating a
hmm
lot of, the anxiety, the overwhelm, all that stuff is pulling some juice off that router.
hmm
And when that happens, everything starts to shut down, right?
hmm
Usually the first thing you'll notice is hunger, energy, and cravings will start to go, right? Hunger goes
hmm
up, energy goes down, motivation goes down, cravings for sure. Usually I like this how, like when my clients or when somebody tells me that they're craving carbs, like that is a quick indication of how stressed out they are,
hmm
and so that'll go. Then you've got your digestion. I think like typically that's the next thing, like gassy, bloating, not starting to, can't digest food, it's just sitting there.
hmm
And then you're going to start to notice effects on, maybe your menstrual cycle for women at least. And then your adrenals, like you're just going to have low motivation, low energy, your hypothyroid, like the thyroid is going to shut down. And then we just start getting into autoimmune diseases and your
Mm-hmm.
inability to lose weight no matter how hard you try, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually when you get really bad, or when you take it to like stage 3, it's like PCOS and you're starting to gain weight, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not eating very much and you're working out. So it's, yeah, that's basically the domino effect that happens. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's just, and and to me, the thing is that, women, or I mean, people have just trained this certain way of being, of performing at a high level,
Mm-hmm.
from the moment they wake up to the moment that they go to bed, they're on mode,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they don't turn off until they go to bed. And there's a point where, like, because it's just become such our norm of how we live, they're in a perpetual low grade state of stress. And
Mm-hmm.
it's that way, of being, that's causing all this disruption, right? That's causing their inability to, their thyroid to shut down, and not able to lose fat. And
Yeah.
then they're at a point where they don't know how to relax anymore. They don't know how to turn off. It feels it's scary, they feel uncomfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're just stuck in this pattern of just wanting to go, 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 because it's what they're used to. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that a lot. I want to emphasize though, just for everyone listening, that is like, that's the domino effect of being in chronic stress. Like if you're stressed out one day, you're not going to experience all these
Oh,
things, kind of thing.
yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to really emphasize that point because I think
Yeah.
some people blow things out of proportion.
Yeah, and I mean, like, some stress is good. We
Right.
want to like push the body and, and challenge it and stuff like that. But it's the perpetual, constant stress that
Mm-hmm.
can take a toll. And you'll notice, like, when you start seeing like those kind of symptoms and stuff.
Right. No, for sure. But now, like going, kind of tying this back to your story, but also um, using client examples if you want to do that too. When you are in that point, you're in that repeated pattern, you're at a point where you have no choice but to learn how to become someone else, de stress, and um, uh, you know, essentially relax so
Hmm.
that your body can finally recover and your health can improve. How do you switch that pattern again? Because again, it's like it's not easy, it's really hard, and it does start internally. But like if this is all you've known for such a long time,
Yeah.
it's hard to convince yourself that this is gonna, this is gonna be good. Essentially, I should be doing this, right?
Hmm.
I feel like there was probably resistance when you first started going the other
Oh,
way. Yeah.
100%. It takes
Hmm.
time. 100%. Yeah. I mean, so the thing is that you're working against the mind, like you're working against the brain. The brain is designed to keep you there.
Hmm.
So it's not even you, it's the way that the brain works. Like, it's designed to keep you to survive, not
Hmm.
thrive. It's not going to want to change. And so there's going to be not just some resistance, extreme resistance,
Hmm.
extreme, like very uncomfortable. And this is why so many people struggle to change. But this is, and that's okay, right? But just know that you have to understand that, hey, if I don't make this change, this is what it's going to mean for me. This means I'm going to live with this pain and suffering for the rest of my life, continuing to feel exhausted and frustrated that I'm not seeing results from all my effort, right?
Hmm.
That's pretty frustrating. And you're just, yeah, so you're just like, on a hamster wheel. So you got to tie, like, okay, like, it's some of it, it's really a lot of blind faith in the beginning, right?
Hmm.
Because you don't know what's on the other side. You have to literally, this is the hardest part, you have to literally let go of who you've been.
Hmm.
You have to. Because if you continue to drive in the same way you've driven with the same patterns, you will only recreate what you already know.
Hmm.
And so you must be willing, it must mean enough to you. And so this is why, like, when it comes to my program and the clients I work with, like, I turn down a lot of women because I know when we hop on a call, if you have what it takes to do this work.
Hmm.
And because, like, if you are not desperate to change, if you're not like in a place where you're just like, I am not willing to tolerate my current circumstances any longer, that's when I know you're going to succeed. But if you're like, yeah, I could, things are okay. I'm okay with I'm okay with doing this. My program's not for you.
Right.
Then this isn't going to work because I'm going to, the resistance is strong. And so you really need to get to that point. And that's where I was at. I was at a point where I was just like, I have to do something. Like I was dying on the inside. I felt like I was dying, and I knew I was capable of so much more, a life of so much more. And that's where you've got to get to, it's just that moment where it's just, I'm not willing to tolerate where I am anymore, to live life like this, to wake up every morning and just the first thing that you're saying is like, oh, great, like another day. I just got to get through today. I didn't want to live like that. Okay. So that's the biggest thing that drove me to just be willing. Hey, I surrender. I give up, man. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And then it's just, a little bit of blind faith and starting to just, hey, take that next step. And it's just like one step at a time. What's my next step? What's my next step? But you're going to start to notice very quickly. It doesn't take long. You're going to start to notice the body just starts to align, right? The experience of the life that you want, the peace with food, the happiness, the love, the joy, it all starts to come when you start to really surrender your current way of being. And when you get when you get a taste of it, then you're like, oh shit, there's something here. Like this is actually what I've been wanting. So yeah,
it's you basically, you got to be desperate for that change, have that blind faith, and wait patiently for that taste of what this new person you're becoming is going to give you. And go ahead.
You can't do it on your own, dude. Like nobody can do this shit on their own. Like it's too strong. Our patterns are too strong. And the brain will pull you back. It'll keep you where it's going to come up with all the reasons. Oh, this doesn't make sense. This isn't going to work. It's fine what you were doing. Like that was fine. Like you're good there. And so we really need people that are gonna stand for us. We need the right people that are going to not only support you in your vision, but are going to give you the strategy on how to do it, and just and champion you when you want to give up, basically.
No, I like that a lot because I think when you're a competitive person, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm also a competitive person. There's a certain pride in doing things on your own and trying to accomplish things as they are. And if you got to this point because of this competitive drive that you have, you're going to want to feel the urge to try and do this on your own and get out of it on your own. But you're feeding the thing that already got you to this position in the first place. And it's not going to take you out of it. It's only going to dig you deeper into it.
Yeah. The thing that what happened with me is I got a taste of it, and when I got a taste of it, like of what was possible, I went all in on it, and I hired coaches. Now I'm a mindset coach for a company, and like I just when I see something is gonna work, I go all in. And so as soon as I notice, oh my God, especially after wasting so many years of trying to do diets and to create this relationship with food that I wanted,
right?
As soon as I noticed that that actually training piece was creating the life and the body that I wanted, I hired a couple coaches, and it's just, there's definitely no way I wanted I knew I was going to succeed faster with coaches, right? Because I just knew that I could tell that, it just falls apart when you don't have people to stand for you and give you the next step and keep you accountable. It's really hard when you only have yourself, because it's only a matter of time till you have a bad day, and you're going to want to revert back to old patterns. So
or if you get to a certain point, you don't know where to go next. There's no one to guide you or point you in that direction. You're going to be stuck where you are.
Very unfamiliar with an unfamiliar pattern. You definitely need some help to tell you're on the right track.
No, I love that, because I think it is, at least like with a lot of people I work with and like the culture I was brought up in, asking for help is always a taboo kind of thing. You know, you never want to ask for help. What the hell? You can't do it on
Yeah.
your own? What's wrong with you? Kind
Yeah.
of thing. But it's the biggest game changer to accelerate you to that new direction. This person knows what they're doing. Why wouldn't you ask them for help? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you take their advice to get you to where you want to be? It only makes more sense.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Like I would get so mad if people open the door for me, I'd be like, dude, I freaking open my own door. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? Or like when they ask to like pick up something for me, I'm like, but that's how I was. I was just so hard, right?
Yeah.
Hard on
Yeah.
the side. But the thing is, I've actually I've always had a coach. Like I've had a coach, some type of coach for like the last 15 years. And I personally think that coach is, I mean, you are saving so much time, so much effort, so much wasted just like uh doubt, like you don't have to deal with that. Like a coach
Right.
is at least a good coach, I mean, I've also had like, my fair share of bad coaches, but they even taught me something, like it's just uh yeah, I think it's the best investment you can make because it just catapults you. You save so much time and you get there faster. So yeah.
Yeah, I like how you're trying to phrase it. It was just like letting go of that mental baggage. Someone else is taking care of all that for you. You
Yeah,
just got to worry about this
doing it.
right now in front of you and being it and doing it, and that's it.
Exactly. But the thing is, what I do really suggest is making sure that when you do get a coach, that the coach actually embodies what you want, right? Embodies the lifestyle you want, because so many people are, oh, I want this relationship with food. Like I want to just not think about food, but yet they hire a coach that gives them macros.
Hmm.
I mean, not nothing against macros. I'm just saying that if you want peace with food, if you really truly want to live your day and not feel like you have to carry this app with you and track everything, well, then you probably want to take advice from somebody who's living that lifestyle
Hmm.
or has freedom in the gym, who's going out and doing activities, who's doing the things that you want to do. There's no right or wrong. Just align yourself with somebody that embodies that. So
Right, right. Just like you said, when you found out the direction, you had that clarity of what you wanted, it was clear where you needed to go. You just got to
exactly,
make sure it's still on that path. You're not making like a detour that's not on that path.
exactly.
Essentially,
Yeah.
yeah. I hear you on that. Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, there are a lot of nutrition coaches out there that know the things you should be doing, like you
Oh
said,
yeah,
know the science of stuff, but like there's a disconnect between how to apply that to a regular person that wants something else.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. Like, knowing what to do is completely different from living it.
Hmm.
Everybody can say, oh yeah, like, oh, I love tracking macros, I feel so in control.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's because you only love it because you're afraid of what will happen if you don't.
Right.
And so that's not, that's, I had, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I just
Hmm.
knew what I wanted. And I see so many people out there saying that they want this particular lifestyle, but then they don't embody it. They,
Hmm.
they talk it, but they're not, their thoughts, their actions, it doesn't align with that.
Hmm.
And so um, yeah. And so,
So
yeah.
then, do you think that for someone to go down this freedom of food with food that they want, do you think that macro tracking isn't helpful at all to get there? Do you think some macro tracking for a period of time would be helpful? Like, what's your opinion on that?
Oh
So
yeah.
if you had someone come on that was like never tracked food, doesn't know anything about food, but just is ready to change their life, like what?
Okay. Yeah. That's a good question. So I will absolutely try. Like, I think it's beneficial for them.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Everybody should track their food so they understand what's in it. They really
Hmm.
should. However, some people, some women that I've worked with, it, like they freak out. Like they're like, this is way too much for me. I can't do this.
Hmm.
And so if that's the case, then we've got to do some emotional work first. We got to start to, well, why do we think, we can train, we can make this fun just by the way that we look at it, or we can
Hmm.
train loving tracking our food by, by the way that we think about it. Like instead of allowing it to activate anxiety and overwhelm. So then we have to train, like I'm training a girl right now, and, we're working on that emotional and mental aspect. So eventually, like, she could track her food and just and not let it stir her up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like, she's probably been with me 3 months, and we tried tracking food, and she just, like, it was way too much. It was way too
Right.
overwhelming. So I was just like, no, we're not doing this shit. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the last thing I need is for her to be stressed out, because then she just goes and stress eats. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, we're not tracking.
This isn't helping. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get
So
where it can be individualized.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like, for somebody like her, like, we're just doing intuitive eating. And because the thing is, it's like, if you really dial in your stress, the food really does settle out. Like, it all happens pretty naturally. You don't crave all the crap, the junk food.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had, if I had my choice, I would love, if they haven't tracked their food, it definitely does serve to track your food. I mean, just try it for 8 weeks or so. I mean, even 4 weeks, 4 to 8 weeks, but, and then,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of wean off, but it's good to have that knowledge for sure.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Just want to get that perspective off from
Yeah.
you. And now, like, going through deeper on like your coaching practices and what you do, I really like this example that you set forth of, okay, this isn't working because you're emotionally triggered. Let's work on this emotional trigger and what's causing this so that we can get you a little bit closer to that goal. What are some things that I think people don't realize are triggering them emotionally, that are holding them back, that you've experienced with the women you work with, that is very common? And if they got that awareness, they'd be able to like get past their stuck point a lot
Mhm.
faster.
Yeah, so a big one with the women that I work with, at least, is the mentality of, I have so much to do and not enough time,
Mm-hmm.
that I have to do it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They get they think that they have to do it all, and that's creating a lot of anxiety and overwhelm.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that, well, wait a minute, like, that lens of I have to do it all is going to create something. Like, that thought alone is going to create your urge to eat,
Mm-hmm.
because it's, you know that's what stress does. It really drives you to eat a lot of times, and it's also going to make you not see results. And so
Mm-hmm.
you want to just disprove that belief. Like, it's just a thought, it's not real, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just as we can think like, oh my god, I have to do it all, we also want to ask, well, instead of asking what are all the things I have to do, ask the question, why do I not have to do it all?
Mm.
Right? Why do I not have to do it all?
Yeah.
And
Just challenging your thought, like your innate thought.
exactly, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to create the outcome that you want, right? The outcome that we're looking for women is, I mean, to create a lean body, love for movement, peace with food, low stress.
Mm-hmm.
So low stress is key, because that's what allows you to, motivate you to go work out and eat well. So we want to be aligning our thoughts in a way that is not stressful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, disproving that belief. Why do I not? And the cool thing about the mind is it will answer any question you ask it. But too many people are asking the wrong questions. They're saying, well, what do I have to do? And what's everything? Why do I not have enough time? And why
Mm-hmm.
do I have to do it all? Like, they're asking the wrong questions. Instead, why do I not have to do it all?
Mm-hmm.
Or when you work out, a lot of the women I work with, they think that they have to work out a certain way. I've got
Mm-hmm.
to follow this plan. I got to do it just like this, right? Well, wait a minute. Like, why do you not have to? Or,
What happens if you don't do that, or if you do
yeah,
this instead?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like, well, and the thing is like, when you start looking at things as I have to,
Mm-hmm.
then it becomes a burden, a chore,
Right.
right? It's like, oh, fuck, like, oh my god, I just totally don't feel like doing this big 30-minute workout, but I
Yeah.
got to do it. And so then it's like, that's not gonna be that's gonna be very challenging. The whole
Yeah.
workout, you're gonna be like just miserable. You just got to get through it. That's not the way I want to go through my workouts. I want to love my workouts. I want to
Mm-hmm.
I want to just make it fun. I want it to be something that I'm excited to do every day, that it pulls me to do, rather
Mm-hmm.
than something I have to force myself to do. And so it's, again, ask a question, well, wait a minute, like, how can I make this fun? What's
Mm-hmm.
fun about this? What do I love about this? Rather than what do I have to do and why do I have to do it? You
Mm-hmm.
know? So
Yeah.
questions like that, same with like with food. Like, why do I not have to eat right now? Like, people think that they have to like eat, as soon as they get hungry or something, and it's
Right.
like, or they have to follow the plan. And it's like, well, wait a minute, like, are you even hungry? And why do you not have to follow the plan? Do you realize, I think what happens is we surrounded ourselves with a certain environment of people that really believe that's the way it has to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we've conditioned and patterned ourselves to thinking that I have to follow the plan in order to get results. I have to work out like this, and I've got to go hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's what we've conditioned ourselves through podcasts and the you know the all our gym friends and
Mm-hmm.
all those people, coaches. But when you look outside of your network, there's a whole lot of people that are fit and active, and they're not obsessing over this shit,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I like that a lot because I think one thing I always like to say and tell clients, because clients and just people in general looking to change their body, because most of the questions that they ask is, what's the thing I'm supposed to do? What's the perfect thing? What's the fastest thing? Like,
Yeah.
they're looking for this ideal thing to put themselves through just to
Yeah.
get to where, just to get to that outcome. But they forget that you're going to have to commit time to this. If you're going to be miserable the entire time, you're going to end up quitting this. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to, if it's going to be hurting you, whether physically or emotionally, you're going to be worse off in the end. And you're just going to never want to do it again afterwards because you've chosen something that you thought was perfect that didn't work out for you, and now
Mm-hmm.
you're in a worse place now altogether, and you think all of it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But if they asked, what's instead of what's the perfect thing, what's the fastest thing, what's the best thing, what's something I could do that I like, what's something
Yes.
that I can find, that I can do consistently, what's something that will light a fire under my ass to get me to do it, they will
Exactly.
get to their goal so much faster because they were honest with themselves and were looking for something that resonated with them instead of something that other people are trying to push on them.
Yes, exactly. And the reason for that is because emotion drives action.
Hmm.
It's like, it's just like with people talk about cheat meals, right? Or when they think about sweets and they just light up, right, with
Yeah.
they get all excited. Well, yeah, of course you're going to eat that shit when you attach joy and love and excitement to it. And same with whereas like, but so we really want to change our relationship to that.
Hmm.
We want to tie, hey, like, we actually want to tie joy and excitement and love to the foods that align, that are going to take us where we want to go. And we
Hmm.
kind of want to tie, like, pain, to the foods that aren't the junk food that isn't going to take us where we want to go, because that we drive by that emotion, right? The emotion
Right.
is what drives us. And so if when I think about like having fun in my workout and what that's going to mean for me, and how much energy I'll have and the clarity I feel, and what I love about it, like, I'm going to be excited to work out. But if I
Hmm.
think about, oh, like, all the work that it's going to require, and how long it's going to take, and how hard it's going to be, and how much it's going to hurt, and
Hmm.
like, what if I don't, I don't know what I like that burden, that it becomes a chore.
Right.
And then it's like, yeah, some of us will are really good at just fighting through that, and through that chore and getting it done. But that's no way to it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
You can make it fun. You can choose your experience just by the way that you think about it. And that's what's going to be the thing. That's what's going to create the compounding result, or compounding, action that's going to create the result you want.
Hmm.
Like, just you're going to feel just pulled to move. You want to move the body all the time. You want to go do things in the body. You love moving and working out because you tie love to it.
Hmm.
It's, you know,
Yeah.
so
I like that you brought that up because I think because we think, or we try to think logically, a lot of times we mistake ourselves for being like logical things, logical creatures, but we're so hardwired to be
Oh,
emotional creatures,
yes.
like to our very core.
Yeah.
Where that's the only thing that ever gets you to do anything. You like, because again, it goes back to, you know what you should be doing. Logically, you
Right.
understand this, but you're not doing it because you have some sort of negative association, negative emotion attached to it that's holding you back from doing it. And that's like the
Yeah,
real core thing that holds people back most of the time.
absolutely.
And it reminds me of the conversation I had with a client earlier this week, and kind of ties into with what you're in your story earlier, where if you're an emotional eater, there's no amount of resistance or strategy that you can create to hold you back from emotionally eating. You can logically, in your sound brain self, tell yourself, okay, if I, referencing your story earlier, if I lock myself out of the house, if I don't take my wallet with me, if I don't do
Yeah.
this, I'm not going to eat. It's like it's all solved. And it wasn't. You just found a new way to satisfy this emotional thing that you needed to satisfy, right? And you can't fight emotion with logic like that. You gotta
Yeah.
match it where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And so the key is to get master the mind, like the master at tying love and joy to the things that are going to take you to where you want to go, to the
Hmm.
life, the vision you choose to create, the body that you want, and tie pain to the actions that won't, you
Hmm.
know, just by the way that you look at it,
Hmm. No,
your
I love that.
lens. Yeah.
I love that. And you one thing you said is like, it's cool to, we know how to get to this point, or we have some direction to get to this point, right? But like once you get there, it's not like you stop doing the work. You still gotta
Oh, yeah.
practice this thing every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you have no idea. I, I train 24/7. It's
Hmm.
conscious, right? Like I'm conscious of where I'm at and what I'm always creating. I'm in every moment of every day is an opportunity for me to train.
Hmm.
Every moment. And so, I'm constantly reminding myself, what's my vision? Who do I and what do I want to create and how can I show up as that now? And just constantly aligning myself emotionally, like with the way that I feel, the way that I'm thinking, with the person and the life that I want to create. Like, and it's just, are my thoughts, my words, my actions aligned with the person I choose to be? And I've got a very, like, this is self mastery, and looking at it every single day and asking, okay, well, where was I aligned today with who I choose to be, the life I choose to create? No. And then where today could I have been more fully aligned? Like, how can I improve and get better? And it's just looking at yourself neutrally, from a neutral perspective, not beating yourself up. Oh, I fucked
Hmm.
up again. Like, none of that. Like, it's just like, okay, this is what happened. Great, this is what I did well at. This is where I could improve. And boom, I make a vow to myself tomorrow. This is how I'm going to improve tomorrow. And it's just, I just I keep working at it, and the journey has been amazing. But yeah, it's constant, because I want to, I want to, there's a certain person I want to be, and every moment is an opportunity to be that person,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah, you could prove it to yourself, or you can show yourself that you need to work on this,
Yeah.
essentially.
And there's a certain amount of pain that I think that we carry when we aren't living in alignment with who we know we could be and who we want
Hmm.
to be, when we don't commit to our word. Like, that's I feel like that's some of the biggest pain that people carry, and people just seem to, like, throw it around as no big deal when they don't commit to things. Like, even just
Hmm.
small things like a phone call or an appointment or a meeting with a friend, or, like saying that they were gonna, or not doing their walk today when they said they were. Like,
Hmm.
those little things, like, it's not just that little time. Like, you're training that into your way of being. If you're just training yourself to not commit to shit,
Hmm.
you, like, that's the only thing you have is your word, so what else do you have to rely on if you can't trust your own self?
Hmm.
Like, you, like,
Yeah, I like that a lot because when I relate this to my clients once again, because when they come on working with me looking for help to change their body, they doubt, they have a lot of doubt within themselves that they could do it
Right.
because they've spent so much time breaking these promises they've set to them for themselves to, follow up and do the thing they said they were going to do.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to shift that around, I've always found, is what's an easy promise you can make right now to prove to yourself you can show up to yourself, to prove to
Mm-hmm.
yourself that I can make this change and I'm going to make this change, but uh, I just don't know it yet. So maybe it's a 5-minute walk after my meal, and that'll be my promise for myself for today. You do
Mm-hmm.
that, all of a sudden you have a little more self confidence in yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
now you can make a bigger promise to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's doing 2 10-minute walks now and follow through with that promise. And you're able to continue to stack these wins
Yeah.
until you're finally convinced that you can become this person that you originally thought you couldn't become. Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And and then you're training yourself to be a loyal person, loyal to, like, it's the most loving
Hmm.
thing that you can do is be loyal to yourself, your word, and the vision you choose to create for yourself, the life you want to know that is possible. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. And the thing about that is that you really need the right people to support you, like that. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear,
Hmm.
right? Because most people are going to support you when you bail on your commitments, right? Like friends, family, whatever. They're going to be like, they just think that, like, you're not going to do your thing that day. Oh, I didn't get my workout in today. And they're going to be like, oh, it's no big deal. It's okay. And like, yes, I'm not saying it's not okay, but
Right.
we don't want to train the relationship of it's okay to bail on my commitments.
Hmm.
So we really need to make sure we're surrounding ourselves with the right people that are going to tell you, hey man, no, that's not okay. Like, it's
Hmm.
not okay for you to just, you know, uh eat a cheesecake just because you went to the cheesecake factory. Like, that's
Yeah.
not okay. Like,
Hmm.
because you said that you wanted this.
Hmm.
And we really need to make sure that, like, like, what, that we're it's that we're aligning ourselves with that, and we have the people that are going to be and remind you that, hey, every moment is you're training yourself into that person. And so you're
Hmm.
either training yourself to bail on commitments that you make to yourself, or you're training yourself to stick to them.
Hmm.
And just kind of a side note on that, because I don't want you to think that, like, I'm perfect or anything like
Right.
that. It's just that a master is going to acknowledge when they didn't hit the mark, right? That they didn't do what they said. And they're going to say, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Like, I accept that this happened. It's not okay for me to continue to do that, right?
Hmm.
And they're just going to use that as an opportunity. Okay, well, how can I align more fully next time? They're
Hmm.
going to use it as leverage and capitalize on that instance to become better,
Hmm. I'm glad
right?
you made that side note because I
Yeah,
was going to make that side note of you can
yeah,
acknowledge that this happened and it's okay that it happened,
yeah,
but you're not okay that with repeating it is the key
exactly.
thing.
It's not
Yeah.
okay to repeat it.
Hmm.
Yes,
Nice.
exactly.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
now
like, yeah.
go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Oh, no, no, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of go more into um that idea of, okay, there are, because this journey isn't perfect, I'm sure and have experienced. It's a lot of up and downs. You've probably reverted back to previous behaviors at some point along the way of
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to become better.
Yeah.
How are you able to be kind to yourself? Was it an automatic thing? Was it something you had to learn along the way to kind of like get back on track? Like, what was that journey like for you?
Oh my God, dude. First off, like, it never ends. Don't
Yeah.
expect that there's ever an end point. I just know I've come a long way, and
Hmm.
I'm really proud of how far I've come, and and I'm even more excited of where I can take it. So,
Hmm.
but no, I've practiced compassion, right? A lot of compassion for myself. I used to be so hard on myself, and that's again part of the journey is having compassion for yourself, and
Hmm.
realizing that, hey, like, yeah, if we want to strive to be our best, but we can't expect perfection. And when we don't hit the mark, we just want to, hey, accept that I didn't hit the mark. right? Have compassion for yourself and, acknowledge, hey, I'm doing the best that I can. I trust that that's enough. And I'm going to use this moment as an opportunity to prepare for the next moment. Right. I'm going to learn from this. But yeah, I mean, the compassion is definitely something you have to train, have compassion for
Hmm.
yourself, have compassion for the world, for other people, knowing that nobody's fucking perfect, right? The world's not perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Like this is we're all just trying to do our best, and
Hmm.
and we just got to trust that that's enough, and just continue to, strive to do our best. That's all.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's actually really helpful. Now, with that, because I've had a lot of clients where they'll have emotional eating episodes, and they always feel like they should be past this, but obviously it's a recurring thing you got to work through.
Hmm.
And sometimes they'll say they don't deserve to be compassionate with themselves
Hmm.
because they continue to do this, right?
Hmm.
Even if it's progressively better, like maybe they don't binge as intensely
Hmm.
or they're able to slow themselves down each time, like it doesn't become as big of a event every time. They still feel like it should be completely eliminated at some point. Is that kind of um if you were to work with a client like that, is that a conversation about expectation and having realistic expectations? Is that a conversation about switching up your self-talk? Like what would you kind of attack that way?
Yeah, so this is definitely have clients that go through this, and so when it happens, like, um, yeah, we pretty much go through those same steps. Like, okay, I acknowledge that this is what happened.
Hmm.
I accept that it happened, right? And I accept, I'm not saying it's okay, right?
Hmm.
I'm just accepting that this is the way it is for now. This is where I'm at, right?
Hmm.
We're just going to come to a place of acceptance, and because that's going to allow us to move forward,
Hmm.
right? And then after that, like it's really about, okay, well, here, let's just say that they're like, well, I can't accept it, like, I feel like shit, I'm such a bad person, and it's never going to change, and so it's like, okay, I hear you, but here's your choice right now. Okay, so you can choose to stay in this guilt and shame and answer to what that's going to mean for you, because whether you we don't have a choice about that. We are going to have to answer to the way that we feel. All right. And if I allow myself to live in the guilt and the shame and beating myself up, that's going to mean something for me. What
Hmm.
that's going to mean, we all know this, right? Is I'm going to have all this anger and guilt and shame, and that's going to lead to certain actions. So I'm probably going to either eat less, or I'm going to binge again, or I'm not going to move any at all. I'm not going to want to move tomorrow. Or maybe I try to, everybody has their own pattern, but,
Right.
or maybe you go to the gym, you try to work off all the calories, which is just going to send you back into a binge,
Hmm.
which then is just going to create more guilt, more shame, more frustration, more stress. And you spin there, dude.
Yeah.
Like that's what you get to answer to. So that's, you can create that, you can choose that, which is fine. You can totally choose that.
Hmm.
Like it's okay for you to feel guilty and shame and all of that. And it's okay for you to feel that way as long as you want to. You can feel that way for a day, a week, a month. That's up to you.
Hmm.
But it's also okay for you to choose compassion. It's also okay for you to come to a place of acceptance and be appreciate maybe something that you learn from this and capitalize off the moment, right? Leverage it to get better, to use it to prepare for the next opportunity to improve. And
Hmm.
that's going to mean something very different for you. If you choose to be accepting and have compassion for yourself, then what that's going to do is you're going to be back on your feet. You're going to, go move. You're going to start with that next meal, like, get aligned
Hmm.
and put your vision back on where you want to go rather than where you're at. And
Hmm.
so that's going to create two different realities for you. And and also, whichever one, there's no right or wrong. It's whichever one that you choose, and one's going to take you where you want to go. The other one's going to, it's going to strengthen where you don't want to go. It's going to take you in the opposite direction and
Hmm.
continue to make that pattern stronger. So
Yeah.
that's the way I would go through that.
I like that because you're basically, at the end of the day, you're always gonna, whatever happens, you always have a choice after that, how you respond.
Uh-huh.
And you just, whatever you choose, it's not right or wrong. You just got to be okay with the consequence of that action,
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like with eating, right? It's like, hey, there's no such thing as a good or bad food, right? Like you
Hmm.
can have pizza and beer. That's totally fine.
Right.
You're just going to answer to what that's going to mean for you in the morning, right?
Hmm.
Probably going to feel a little lethargic. You're probably going to be maybe, puffy and not going to feel your best.
Hmm.
And, and that's okay. And sometimes that's like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I want to answer to that.
Right.
Like I choose to, this experience of hanging out with friends and having a good time, that's
Hmm.
important to me right now. Right. And I'm okay with feeling like shit tomorrow. Okay.
Hmm.
So, but that's, so, and it's very freeing when you look at it like that, hey, I can choose to be guilty and shameful right now, and I can choose to be that way for as long as I want.
Hmm.
Or I can choose to know compassion for myself.
Hmm.
That's your choice.
Yeah. One of them sounds better than the other, but you
Yeah,
know, to me at least, I don't know.
one definitely creates, yeah, I mean, and sometimes, man, it's like, yeah, sometimes I want to have a fit, man.
Hmm.
Like I want to do the silent treat with my boyfriend, and I'm just like, I deserve to be pissed off. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like I'm gonna allow myself to be pissed off, and when I allow myself, I'm gonna realize, okay, like probably this happened the other day, and just like 30 minutes went by, and I was like, okay, I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I want to feel, I want to feel joy now. I want to feel fun.
Hmm.
I want to have fun now,
Right.
right? So yeah.
Hmm. I like that. No, I love that perspective a lot. Okay, we are coming close to the end of our time, so I do want to give you your due diligence here. I got two questions for you.
Go for it.
One, uh, people want to see more of your stuff because this was a great conversation. I'm sure people are going to be interested in seeing a lot more of your stuff. Where can they find you and what you do?
Yeah, the best place is probably Instagram. So
Hmm.
that one seems to be because I do, yeah. I mean, you'll get a good taste of that. But so that's Natalie.Newhart on
Hmm.
Instagram. And then if you're looking to actually wanting to, and if you're wanting to get on the call with me and see if you'd be a good fit for my program, work one-on-one, we would do a kind of a breakthrough call, see if you're a good fit. Like I said, I look for specific qualities in a person because I know what it takes to succeed.
Hmm.
And that's going to be, if you want to apply to work with me, it'd be talk2nat.com. So talk the number two nat.com.
Hmm.
And yeah, those are probably the two best places. Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right, awesome. And those are going to be linked in the show notes. So anyone that's interested, you just click the link, it'd be a lot easier, and you get that access to her. And now, last question for you. This is the Not So Stupid podcast. We focus on simplicity as a way to improving your life. So, what is one simple thing that isn't walking that you would suggest to someone right now to do that could dramatically improve their life? And they could do it like right after they take off their headphones or they
Yeah,
leave wherever they're leaving from. What would that be?
absolutely. This is easy.
Uh huh.
Uh, know what you want. Paint the picture. Like if you could literally design the life that you want, the body that you want, like paint the picture in your mind. It starts with a picture. Like it starts as a fantasy. And so see yourself like if there was a clean slate tomorrow morning and you could design it any way you want. Imagine the way that you would wake up and go through your day, right? What would that look like? What would that feel like? What would are the things that you'd be doing? Who would you be doing them with? Imagine the fun you'd have, how free you'd feel, the joy you'd know, the peace with food or just the peace in general, right? Like maybe you're in the mountains or you're at the beach or like what is it that you want? What does that look like? Because what I've noticed is people just never even ask like what is it that I really want? What's important to me? How is it that I want to go through my life? What do I want to be known for? Do I want to be a loving person? Do I want to be, somebody that stands, by their word? And, am I somebody that's fit and just with so much energy and has a passion for just loves life, like just knows how to just love everything about life? Like, what does that look like? What does that life look like?
Hmm.
Because once you start to know what you want, the life that you want to wake up to day in and day out, and don't like don't like like really allow yourself to dream and get out of your own head, because then you can start to align yourself with, all right, how do I create that? How do I start training myself into that person? Yeah.
I love that. I do think that, like you said, it's not something anyone usually asks themselves often enough. They kind
Yeah.
of go
If
through
ever.
what they've been told to go through, and they go through those motions, and they look back at it like, man, what the hell have I been doing this whole time?
Yeah. And that's exactly what happens. People just, yeah, they just kind of react and they just take what's in front of them rather than asking, what is it that I even want, you know?
And they don't
Yeah.
even give themselves that chance because they never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Natalie. That was a great note to end on. Very simple, not really easy, but simple enough to try and do. And yeah, thank you for your time again. This was really awesome. Loved
Yeah,
this
man.
conversation, and I'm, just grateful for you to be on the call with me.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
I'm super grateful too. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we gave some people some inspiration, changed some lives for the better. Yeah.
Mhm. Hopefully so. I think we did, but yeah. Thank you again, and thank you everyone for listening. Again, if you want to see more of Natalie, the links to see more of her stuff are in the show notes, and we will see you guys on the next episode.